proper lead generation and marketing, right? One of the main aspects about having a business is you want leads constantly coming into you. And the way that you're going to do that is by providing proper lead generation. All right. So it's like, okay, what is lead generation? Lead generation is it's a form of marketing where you send out information or you send out to stuff to customers and prospects, and you get them interested in what it is that you do or what it is that you offer, whether you have a product, service, or something else. You need lead generation, right? Many times we're trying to go straight to the sale, and many times most people are not ready for the sale. Across all industries, only 1 to 3% of people are ready to buy right now. The rest of the people, which is 97%, right? 97 to 99% of people, they need some kind of education or they need some form of nurturing. And lead generation is the way that you do that, right? You're going to get the lead interested and then you're going to follow up with other content, right? So, how do you do that? Well, most of what you're going to be doing, it boils down to who is it that you're serving, right? So who are you serving? Who is your customer or your prospect, right? Everything depends on that customer or that prospect, and they will have different mentalities, and they will all require different things. And this is why it's important to understand the benefits of focusing on one thing at a time, right? So I just finished up a networking call. Shout out to George Roberts. He has that call every Wednesday at 12 p.m. If you're a member, it's on our calendar. You can go there. George Roberts is third, and you can participate in that networking event. It is creative, is commercial real estate networking, right? So, anyway, lead generation, right? How do you come up with relevant content for your customer prospect? Well, the way that you do that is by finding out what it is, what they're looking for, right? And it can be a little bit tricky if you want to try to begin to understand what people are searching for, what they're looking for. Um, you have to empathize, right? You have to really empathize and you have to get outside of yourself. It's not about what you know, right? It's about what they want, right? And one of the best ways that you can find out what people want is to think about the questions that they're asking. What questions do they have about your particular thing or a goal that they're trying to achieve, right? So, this gentleman that I was talking to, he said that he provides services for people that acquire businesses. So I said, well, then you need to find out what questions that they have. You need to create content around those questions because these are questions that people have. And typically, what do they do? What do you do when you have a question about a particular subject? You go to a search engine such as Google or YouTube and you type that question in, right? And you gain content around that, what it is. So the way that you do that, this is what I encourage most people to do. I'm going to do a screen share and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that. So really quickly, um, what you're going to do is I'm going to do my screen share and you can kind of see my screen there. So the thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to Google. Let me get some music cracking for us, right? Okay. So you can see my screen. I'm in a new incognito window and I'm just going to simply go to Google. So now I'm on google.com and it's like, okay, um, what do we do from here, right? Well, you think about your customer, your prospect, and you can put a keyword in here, or you can put a particular question. I typically like to start off with keywords, and I like to keep it short and simple. Some people like the question format. It doesn't really matter. It matters on your avatar, right? So, what are they inputting, or what are they typing in? So, let's just say someone was looking for um, how to buy. Okay, so how to buy a business without losing money. And the cool trick here is what you do on Google, right? So here we go. All I like to look for this people always ask section, and this is where you start to ask questions, right? So this is where you start to ask questions. Generally, usually when you start off, it doesn't have many questions here, but the trick that I like to showcase to people is that you can do some cool stuff with this here. So, depending on your expertise, in this case, it was the gentleman. He was teaching people how to buy businesses. You're going to create content around these particular questions. So, how do I take over an existing business? You answer a question like that. How do I buy businesses with other people money? That may or may not be relevant to you. Do you have to buy a business with cash? This might be a relevant question that they might be asking. What to do when business runs out of money? But here's what I want to do. I want to buy a business. Maybe this question is not ideal, right? So let me try a different question. How to buy a business? And let's see what comes up. People also ask, how can I take over an existing business? How can you buy a business with no cash? What is the first thing to do when buying businesses? This is starting to sound like, okay, what we should do. Is it a good idea to buy an existing business? How do you buy ownership of a company? How do you pay for your business, right? So they've given us 6 questions, and I would start to create content. If I was that gentleman, I would start to create content around these particular questions. If you need more questions, what you would do is you would come here and find the one that's most relevant that you're trying to address, and you would just click on it twice, right? In this case, let me do that. How can I buy? What is the first thing to do when buying a business? So this is probably what I would create content around, right? If I was that gentleman. So click that one time, then click it again. And guess what? It started to give me more questions, right? So you can see we went from 6, and now we have, I think, 9 questions there. Is it a good idea to buy an existing business? Who knows? Let's double click this one again, though. So I'm going to left click on that. Then I'm going to left click it again, and it's going to give me more questions down here. How do you value a business based on revenue, right? It's giving me questions around that. I would go and I would address and answer these questions in particular format, right? You could do blogs, you could do videos, you could do social media posts, but these are questions that you start to address for your customers and your prospects, right? So I'm going to double click that again, and guess what? They've given me more questions. So that is how, right? That is how you come up with an effective lead generation magnet, right? They're called lead generation magnets. You're going to create content that people are interested in, right? Information and educational based content that you can give them so they can come into your world and start to understand what you do as an expert in your industry, right? One of my favorite things to do is I like to take my content and I like to turn it into books, right? So I've done video presentations, webinars, and I take that content, I have it transcribed, I have it broken down, right? Edited, and then I put it into a book, right? I put it into a book, or you can take 2 or 3, whatever it is, and you can put it into a book. We just had a recent workshop where we took a bunch of experts through, like, okay, this is how you create a book, and a lot of people struggle with that. The number one tip that I can give you around creating content is keep it simple. You have a complicated process, and people don't need your complicated process just yet. They need the basics of what it is that you do. They need the basics of what questions that they have. Don't go into your complicated process just yet, right? Just answer very simple and basic questions. And the other reason why I want to keep it very simple and basic is because you don't want to scare away your customers or prospects. You don't want to overwhelm them. And then my second favorite reason is that typically this kind of information, the basic information, is readily available. And you can easily verify that information. There's no way to easily verify what it is that you do as an expert, right? So that can be overwhelming, and that can confuse your customer and your prospect. So I like to suggest that you typically find information that is factual, that can be proven, and that's easily verifiable, and that you put that into a lead magnet and content, right? Another basic structure, and then we can go, is tell them about what and why, not the how. The how is what you sell, or the how is when you do a consultation, or the how is your product, right? Do your best not to get into the how, because it's not necessary. You're going to want them to need you. You're going to teach them what and why, not the how. The how can get very complicated, and it can overwhelm people. There is one exception when you can lay out your entire how if your how is complicated. But typically, what I find is that people get held up in teaching or delivering that content. So your best bet is to teach them what and the why, not the how. My name is Jerome Lewis. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the other side. Bye bye.